week, we will round out our third full year on the Gravity podcast, and we have pieced together some highlights from the year. And it has been a year. It's been a really wonderful year. On the podcast, we've had an opportunity to really have some incredible conversations with some nationally, internationally recognized people from all walks of life, as well as many of my friends here locally in Columbus. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful year for the podcast. So many amazing humans out there in the world doing such incredible work. And so hopefully you will enjoy this episode, which just pieces together some clips and highlights from some of our most memorable guests from the year. Thanks for joining me each and every week. It really means a lot to have you as a listener. Please, please, please share, subscribe, give us reviews, comments, recommend guests. We love your input and totally need and appreciate your support in continuing to spread the word about what we're doing here if you feel so compelled. I hope that everybody has a wonderful holiday season, has an opportunity to really take a break, spend some time with loved ones, and just take in all that there is to appreciate and love and embrace about life. And wishing all of you a beautiful, beautiful, happy holiday season and a wonderful new year. And cheers to all that lies ahead. We will continue to be together in this journey in a variety of ways. And hopefully this podcast is just one of those for you.
I lacked the emotional awareness on how to communicate consciously. He was like, man, you're just getting really reactive in situations that you don't need to be. All these things kept happening. And I was like, I'm at the center of all these challenges. This is my responsibility. And then we try some stuff. And so people were recommending workshops. And one of these workshops is what allowed me to finally get feedback about how I'm showing up, to be able to receive it. That's when I started opening up about sexual abuse for the first time, was in one of these workshops. That sent me down a path of different types of therapies, modalities, healing processes. But I think you got to find what works for you to feel emotionally free. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that most people want. And you can get fit and strong and look like you have it all together. But if you feel like you aren't able to sleep at night, anxious, ruminating your thoughts, if you're holding on to the past, you're scared of the future, you're anxious and resentful and worried a lot, then you probably have more healing work to do.
From a work standpoint, I was always pretty insecure. The good thing about being insecure and not feeling good about what you're doing is I worked really hard. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I didn't realize till I was older and in a place where I was managing people how valuable what I did was. I was just doing it more of wanting to please people and out of fear.
It's interesting. And I'm intrigued by, and maybe it's just because I relate to it, this idea of being insecure and then pouring yourself into your work and how it sort of turns out to fuel a lot of your success.
I think what I discovered as I got older is I did have a skill in managing people and interacting with people. And maybe it's part of how I grew up and trying to make everybody happy and juggle everything. Mm-hmm. I just can stay very calm in a chaotic world. And mm-hmm. I can see your point of view, mm-hmm. the other person's point of view, and come to consensus. Mm-hmm. And I think that, especially in government, you're trying to land in the middle. You can't be either or in government. You have to serve everybody, but you do have to make decisions. And so I think my ability to manage, make people feel included just works. The thing I haven't gotten very good at that I'm working on is loving myself. I think that's what holds me back from everything.
Well, you're doing that, Greg, and what a nice thing, to feel loved.
Yeah.
To see your life, in the way that it is and the way that it's possible. And this, ending being something that you create to be what you want it to be.
I have to check myself. I'm not being very emotionally sober right now. I'm doing something to take myself out of the feeling that I'm having right now, mm-hmm. right? So when I feel angry or when I feel disappointed or sad or all those things, nobody wants to sit in that. What can I do to escape this? I'm going to go on Instagram, or I'm going to eat ice cream, or I'm going to go whatever. And I think the hardest thing to do is just sit with that. Emotions and feelings stay with us for 60 to 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. But the story we tell ourselves that we loop in our mind is what keeps us stuck stuck there. I think that's the biggest struggle, is being able to stay present in the present moment and being willing to accept whatever that moment offers us. I knew what I was doing was uncomfortable, and I knew it was creating pain by drinking, but I had to decide, right? Do I want to look at it and make a change, or do I want to continue to bury the shame with booze? And for a really long time, I chose the path of bearing the shame because it felt really uncomfortable. It's really hard to look at the things that I was doing to myself. And also that shame like hides in the darkness, right? And so we recover, we heal in the light. And so that was one of the reasons when I started speaking really openly about my experience, was I could continue to hide that and be embarrassed by the fact that I was an addict or an alcoholic or someone with substance use disorder, whatever the terminology that, people choose, but I didn't want that anymore. And it was okay, to be me.
Once you're known for a particular style, it might be easy to kind of just go with that. But as an artist, you want to evolve, you want to experiment, you want to try new things. And so I'm curious how you choose to lean into that and continue to evolve.
For me personally, I'm always interested in reinventing myself. I always think it's important not to be precious about the work that you've made. Personally, I like to work more in like a journey kind of a way, and like a trajectory kind of a thing. Thinking about what you've done with your work up to that point and where you can take it from there moving forward.
I think it's important to enjoy the way more than the end,
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Another life motto that I live by is you never know what you're good at if you don't try. Literally try anything, take a risk.
Yeah, I think it's more difficult to choose which ideas you're going to actually make into art than a lack of ideas. I mean, for me, it's like 10 paintings a minute in my head.
Creating your life to be what you want it to be, creating the experiences that you want to have, the relationships you want to have, that is all an act of creativity that somehow gets lost along the way.
This is one of my core approaches or philosophies to life, which is you should create your life rather than live it. Everything from the relationships you build to the home that you live in to the way that you structure your normal day, like all of that can be a work of art in a sense. And that is such a powerful ability. The other thing is, if you broaden your definition of what is creative, it starts to make life more fun. There aren't really any rules. As an example, I have a cabin in the woods, all kinds of cool wildlife on the property, and I don't get to see it because whenever I'm walking around, they're hiding. I just sent a cold email to this guy who works at National Geographic, who sets up all of their camera traps to do wildlife photography. So I sent him this email to try to convince him to come out to the property and teach me how do you do what you do. And it took a couple attempts, but eventually he was like, all right, fine, I'll come out and show you. And so he came out, and it's so cool. And now I have 4 of those set up, and we got photos of, bobcats and raccoons and turkeys and all kinds of stuff. I use that kind of approach all the time in life. I feel like most people just sort of assume that something like that is kind of out of reach, but there are no rules. So I just emailed the person who does that thing. And if you take that kind of thinking and apply it to every area of life, you would be stunned what you can come across and learn and build. There is no rule. It's just a story in your head. This is something that's hard to do. You just need to get over that little story, and then all kinds of things open up.
Pleasure as a driver in life. It's been just absolutely shredded and criticized by let's say the Stoic, but actually it's a pretty great way to be. It's like, what feels good? What feels right? That's what you should be doing. And usually if you ask yourself, you end up doing the right thing too. And there's this idea that if you follow what feels good, you won't do the right thing, which I reject. What I've been able to accomplish in my life, it gets back to instinct. And also where I've gone wrong in my life, it's because I didn't trust my instinct. Being able to tune into your instinct and follow your instinct, well, it may be wrong, but then you learn from it. And what you end up with is, well, you know what? I need to take that out of my life actually. And that's pleasure. The company was growing. I was trying to do too many things. And I think I just kind of lost who I was in trying so hard to be everything to everyone. I spent a long time the last few years just being. Not being anything, and actually just asking a lot of questions and just getting really curious about myself, how I feel. And I think what happened is too that I connected very much with who I was when I was younger.
Who was that person?
Yeah, just free.
Yeah, this lack of fun, freedom gets lost, and it's not really embraced in adults in our society as much as maybe it should be. You hear somebody say, you can do it, but doing it, taking that step, it's just so hard for people. As you start to think about those big events in your life, whether that start Miracle Morning or move through the depression, how did you actually take that step to do it?
Here's the miracle equation. It's very simple. Anyone that accomplishes a miracle, which I simply define as a tangible, measurable result that is so far beyond what the average person believes is possible that it feels like a miracle. miracle. 2 decisions: unwavering faith, extraordinary effort. You decide what you want in your life. I want to beat cancer. I want to sell 1 million copies of my book, save my marriage, whatever the result you want in your life is. You establish and maintain unwavering faith. That outcome is a possibility, and you do it in writing, and it looks like this: I'm committed to blank, no matter what, there's no other option. Whenever I felt fear that I was gonna die, I pulled out those affirmations. They were printed on my bedside table. They were on my phone. They were everywhere. I'm committed to beating cancer no matter what. And then I listed all the reasons why. For my wife, for my mom, for my dad. I had reasons why. For my mom, because she doesn't deserve to lose another child. For my kids, because they need their dad's love and guidance. That's how you logistically, realistically maintain unwavering faith, is you affirm what you're committed to no matter what, there's no other option. And the second decision is extraordinary effort.
Yeah.
And that's how I took my first step when the doctor said I would never walk again. It's how I beat cancer. It's how everything I've done in my life. That's the equation.